38 with a 1250 OPS, 6 extra base hits, 9 RBIs. He's 18 years old, and he is yet to strike out in 40 plate appearances at Class A Advanced Charlotte. At the lower level, Class A Bowling, he walked 30 times and struck out 20 over 272 plate appearances. He's the man, right? Slashing .332 with 33 extra base hits. That includes 8 home runs and 17 steals in 71 games this year. That's the man, Wander Franco. Danny Diaz, a third baseman for the Red Sox at Gulf Coast League. He signed a $1.6 million bonus in July 2017. A lot of power. He's hit 6 homers in 26 games. Last year, he broke his handmade bone in his left hand, ended his season early. He's 18. He's a third baseman. He went 2 for 5 last night with 2 doubles. Overall, he has swatted 6 doubles in his first 12 games. Right-handed power, Fenway Park in Boston. Danny Diaz. Big on him. The Yankee prospect Harold Carrito, pitcher, their 29th prospect, Class A Charleston, 5 1/3 last night, 4 strikeouts. His ERA sits at 1.62 through 6 starts. He's limited hitters to just 27 hits over 33 1/3 innings. He was a 14th round draft pick out of the Maryland Prep ranks in 2017. He has an above average fastball and changeup. He's working on his slider. And if he gets that, just continue to look. And we these guys, they're pitchers. I'm a little weary of pitchers, but you got to keep your eye on them. More lower level prospects. Royce Lewis, you've heard of him. He was in the Futures game. Number 1 prospect for the Twins. Number 7 in all of baseball. Went 2 for 4 with a home run for Class A Advanced Fort Myers. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2017 in the second half. He has a .274 average, 5 home runs in 18 games since the Florida State League All-Star break. Andrew Vaughn for the White Sox. I love this kid. 2 for 3 last night, a home run, 2 RBIs. He was the number 3 overall pick in this year's draft. Did you hear me? 2019, he's already at Class A ball. The next step is High A ball Winston-Salem. That's in the Carolina League. Ta-da! Guess who gets to watch him? That'll be me. You'll get more reports when I see him live. But he blasted his first home run, reached base 4 times. It was a solo shot in the 3rd inning. He was the 2018 Golden Spikes Award winner. He's hit safely in 3 of his 4 games for Kannapolis. After he went 9 for 15 in 3 games in the rookie-level Arizona League to begin his career. Andrew Vaughn, a first baseman, a gotta-have if you're in a dynasty league. He's a player. Sam Huff. Here you go. I've been talking about Sam Huff. Phil Chappie sent me a question yesterday. He's picking players in a dynasty league. And we had this discussion about Sam Huff. And I know you guys have listened to me just rant and rave about Sam Huff over the last few weeks. Before the Futures game, I was talking about how good Sam Huff was. If you don't believe me, go back on demand. Listen to some of my shows. You'll hear me do it. Trust me, I did. Sam Huff back from the Futures game, back in Kinston last night, which is just less than a half an hour away from where I live. At the game, the MVP of the Futures game, he hits a home run last night. Way to go, Sam Huff. I'm going to try to interview this kid and play it for you on a future show. Wouldn't that be kind of awesome since I talk about him so much? He went 2 for 3 last night, a home run, 2 RBIs for Class High A Advanced Down East. It was a 4th inning home run. He had an RBI single in the 5th. His home run last night was his 22nd this season in only 81 games. His previous career high was 18, set last season at Class A Hickory. Sam Huff, catcher, first baseman. I told you a few minutes ago I went to see the Mudcats play in Zebulon. That's a little town outside of Raleigh. Because Gio Gonzalez was rehabbing last night, and I want to give you his numbers. The results don't really matter. But Gio Gonzalez last night threw 48 pitches, for the Mudcats. That's a Class A, High A affiliate of the Brewers. 48 pitches thrown, 33 were strikes. He pitched 2 innings, so he labored. He really did labor. 4 hits allowed, 2 earned runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. He wasn't as sharp as I think, but I think, he's at single A. He's just getting a rehab in. They're going to build that pitch count back up. He's going to be back in Milwaukee. And if you remember last year, when Milwaukee acquired Gio Gonzalez in September, he had an outstanding month of September. Look for Gio Gonzalez to be back in Milwaukee come 1st of August. He's going to get just a couple more rehab starts, in my opinion. He's not ready after last night for sure. They got to stretch him out. The Brewers in need of a starter. There's one. I still think the Brewers are going to try to make a trade. And in watching them last night, they've got some prospects who can hit. Here's one of them. If they were to trade, teams in the major leagues are always looking for catchers who are defensively oriented and offensively oriented. Patrick. I was going to say Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death, but before you give me death, let me reconsider. That's not the way it went, right? Not Patrick Henry, Peyton Henry. Peyton Henry for the Carolina Mudcats, again a Brewers affiliate, went 2 for 3 last night, a home run, 4 RBIs. He's a 22-year-old catcher, been one of the top run producers in the Carolina League, 51 RBIs through 81 games, 10 home runs, matches his career high mark. He's cut down 36.2% of attempted base stealers this year. Last year he was at 43.8%. So he's certainly a possible trade chip if the Brewers were to get a major league ready arm, and they certainly are ready and are ready to get that. More prospects last night for the Braves. Drew Waters, their number 4 prospect, number 44 in all of baseball, went 2 for 3. 2 runs scored, an RBI. It was his 34th multi-hit game of the season, 11th with multiple runs scored. He's a 20-year-old, hitting at a .334 clip. His previous career high was .293. He's had 9 triples this year in 87 games. Cardinals' Dylan Carlson, saw him at the Futures game. Their number 2 prospect, 3 for 5 with a double and 3 runs scored for Double-A Springfield. He's a 20-year-old, former first-round pick in 2016. Ranks among the Texas League leaders in a host of categories. OPS at .884, that's 5th. 61 runs, tied for 1st. 13 home runs, tied for 2nd. 156 total bases, 2nd. Overall, he's at .287 with a .515 slugging percentage and 37 extra base hits and 12 steals over 79 games this year. Here's a player to look out for. Chappie's going to hate me for doing this. O'Neal Cruz. Yeah, O'Neal Cruz, Pirates' number 4 prospect, 78 in all of baseball, 20 years old, had a solo home run. He's 6'6". He's also had 7 stolen bases. He had 14 homers and 11 steals in his first full season. He's a 2020 candidate. Very athletic. O'Neal Cruz for the Pirates. Last night, let's talk about the AAA All-Star Game. And I'll talk about some more prospects. Last night, AAA All-Star Game. Standouts, Castro for the International League, 2 for 3. I've just got a text from Chappie, call me if you want to. Yeah. Castro 2 for 3 for the International League. Only 7 hits overall. A lot of singles. Okay, Goins a single. Herrera. But looking at the PCL team, and there's some players here I want to talk about for just a moment. Mateo, I've talked about him before, the Oakland prospect, 2 for 3 last night with 2 RBIs and a triple. Hopefully you watch the game. Guy can fly. Tucker went 1 for 3. Houston prospect with a double. France, Ty France, the Padre third baseman, 1 for 4, home run. Urias. And I want to talk about Urias for a moment because he went 1 for 3 with a homer. It was a bomb, 2 RBIs. And so, as we look at Urias for San Diego, my question is, why is he not up? What are they waiting on? Are they going to trade Urias as a potential chip? I mean, I just don't understand. Luis Urias, he came up early in the year. He went like 2 for 24, hitting .083. There was some talk back in early June that the Padres were giving serious consideration to promoting Urias. Didn't do it. He's still in the minor leagues. Even the San Diego Union Tribune reported back in June, quote, I think he's on a really fast track. So, what's standing in his way? Well, you got Ian Kinsler, I guess, standing in his way. Looking at the last few games leading to the All-Star break, Ian Kinsler, I've done this before, was 1 for 9, a .217 average. I mean, here's what I don't quite get. If the Padres are talking about trading for a Syndergaard or a Wheeler or a Stroman, then why don't they call up one of their own, Urias, and let the kid play? Looking in the chat room, Jack Youngblood, my friend Jack Youngblood. Jack, how are we doing this morning? How are things in Maryland? You heard an offer the Cubs could give the Orioles the other day. Mancini or for Zach Short and Ian Happ. Interesting. And I just told you a few moments ago, Ian Happ is heating up. And we all know that ballpark in Baltimore would be very promotional for home runs, right? Okay, so if the Cubs get Mancini, Jack, where does Mancini fit in? I just don't see him being a great outfielder. Okay, so, but you got Rizzo at first. Let's talk this out a moment. And if you're with me, give me a message. I'm looking in the chat room. I can read. I can talk to you about it. Okay, so if Mancini comes over to Chicago, that puts him in the outfield. All right? You've already got Chris Bryant, Hayward, Contreras as a backup. Thinking about that outfield in Chicago. Almora. So if you put Almora in center, you put Hayward in right, you got Bryant at third. At left. You'd have to move Bryant back to third base. Mancini would then play left field. And Bote and Garcia, those kids, they would just, I guess, fill in. You're saying he probably won't play every day in Chicago. But talk about this Zach Short to me. If you know much about his stats this year, I'd like to hear some about Zach Short. What's Baltimore's interest in Short, and why would the Cubs be willing to trade Zach Short to Baltimore? It's an interesting conversation. Mancini could certainly provide a bat, a part-time bat. He could fill in at first base. Of course, Caratini has played extraordinarily well off the bench for the Cubs. 11th best prospect, Zach Short. I'm going to look him up. We'll talk about him a little more. Do you know what level he's at, Jack? Because he may be a kid I can go watch, which would be really cool if I could do that. Here you go. Again, doing something on the fly, which is not always a good thing to do. But let me see if I can find Zach Short and give everybody else a little information. He's a shortstop. He's at AAA. His hit tool is a 40.